Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ludo History. There we go. We have now the camera has updated. So, hello, everyone. Um, hmm, I am still seeing lag. We'll see if that changes. Uh, anyway, I am live today with Dr. Richard Cole, a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Bristol, and we will be playing in a little while The Forgotten City. So, hello, everyone.
Hi, Ron.
Okay, I am seeing some technical difficulties. Chat, are you seeing technical difficulties? Because I am seeing a lot of lag. Hmm. How are we doing? Camera is choppy. Okay. Are we good right now? We seem to be okay right now, so we may leave it like this. Hello, Magistressa, Raventel, Escudo, Dragonwolf, everyone. So, I am so excited. There is so much to be looking forward to with this game, and it's going to be a great time. And uh, Dr. Cole has very graciously agreed to be our guest commentator for the entire stream. So for the next few minutes, we're going to kind of introduce everyone, uh, talk about classics, cultural heritage, reception, all that stuff, and then we'll get stuck into the game. And Peter, I am also so excited for this. It does some stuff to him. So, if anyone does not know, I have not played the game yet, at all. I have seen bits and pieces, but I have not played it. But Richard very helpfully has, and so will be our guide and or laugh at me as I make silly decisions.
That's kind of perfect. I've been through the time loop,
Exactly.
which all of us will soon be going through. So it's going to be quite interesting.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
see your
first,
reactions.
oh yes, I'm so excited. But first, I want to talk about you and your research first. So, right, starting in the greatest of places, your Twitter bio, it says you are a postdoctoral researcher in classics and virtual reality. Can you elaborate for chat what that actually means?
Sure, yeah, it's as fun as it sounds. My official title is a research associate in ancient Greek history and virtual reality, which effectively translates as I'm a researcher on a project that's building a virtual reality simulation. So I get to actually have the kind of direct input on um, building virtual worlds, which is kind of one of those sort of dream jobs if you're a gamer and also interested in the ancient world. Um, the project that I'm actually on at the moment, we're building a simulation of the ancient oracle of Dodona, based on the kind of evidence we have for people that read and ask questions there. So it's a sort of historian-led project, but we're sort of engaging with gaming companies to help us build it. So it's really fun to be at that kind of cutting edge of translating the ancient world into the virtual worlds that we're familiar with kind of from gaming, and then seeing if we can use that as a teaching and research tool.
That's super cool. For anyone who doesn't know, can you elaborate kind of on what kinds of things might be going into the Oracle at Dodona and some of the sources you might be using? Because I know we talked yesterday and you said that you were using like actual records of questions people were asking this Oracle uh, as sort of a grounding for this narrative and for this VR experience.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we're very lucky with Dodona because they unearthed a kind of massive treasure trove of thousands of tablets, lead tablets on which people um, apparently have written their questions. We actually have no idea really how the oracle actually worked. So it's one of these interesting ones where a lot is known about it, both in literature and from this archaeological evidence, but also very little is actually known about it. But the questions give us a sense of people's concerns. They range, widely between issues of childbirth, trade, um, travel, wealth, murder. There's all the way up, sort of asking about whether your neighbour stole your cushions or not. There's some absolutely brilliant examples that really take you down to that kind of very grounded level of trying to relate to ancient people and their concerns. And some of them very much mirror concerns we might ask today of a kind of modern oracle. So I think that there's a lot that can be done with these questions, and we're taking the oracle at a particular time when there was very little in terms of architecture at the site. So it was very much a site in nature. That was kind of the whole point of it. It was very related to nature through the fact that the oracle supposedly talked, Zeus's oracle there talked through a tree, an oak tree, communicated somehow through this tree, or through doves in the tree, or through the sound of the wind in the tree, or through priestesses engaging with the tree. There's lots of hypotheticals, but we can kind of reconstruct some of what it might have been like to be there through the evidence we have of people's questions, through what we know what the site looked like, through the literary evidence we have, and what we can extrapolate from that in terms of kind of the who was at that site, your priestesses, and what their role was, and then we can retell stories creatively, just like video games do, and other sort of heritage experiences, to try and give us a sense of that experience, not just like what the site looked like a lot of reconstructions do, but kind of what it might have been like to actually be there and engage in that experience of asking the oracle.
Oh, it's so cool. And you mentioned that you specifically want this to be like an educational thing. So, what are kind of the educational goals, and how does that affect, right? How does that affect what research decisions you're making? Because obviously, right, I think something we've seen a lot is a lot of disagreement about, how do we actually make historical arguments in game-like spaces, given that you have to literally reconstruct it, right? Big philosophy of history thing here, but it's so hard to do deconstruction work in a space that you have to literally construct and or reconstruct. So
Absolutely.
yeah, how does that kind of guide your research?
It's a really good question. So education was kind of a core part of the bid, and I should say I'm just one researcher on this quite large project that sort of involves people from neuroscience, psychology, computer science as well. So there's a real rich team there sort of coming together to build this thing. But
we love
from the kind of oh god, yeah. Here's where it seems to actually be working, which is a really refreshing and lovely experience. But the education side is interesting because the curriculum for classical civilization at A level in the UK actually includes Dodona as a part of the syllabus on personal experience of the divine. So this VR simulation has partly been built very much with students studying for that course in mind, and part of the project is going to be involving testing whether students who experience that VR simulation retain information about Dodona and have a greater understanding of Dodona than those who have not used that simulation. Since this VR is being sort of done at both the low end and high end, so you can take it into schools, use Google Cardboard, etc., to kind of allow people to experience it in that kind of lo-fi way. So that's where we're sort of testing it educationally. But your point is really valid, because it's so we've been building it to sort of try and engage with how the A-level syllabus is crafted and the questions that raises about sort of personal experience with the divine. But in the process, we're also trying to make something that makes sense. So you're trying to construct narratives, characters, narrativize aspects of the ancient world, like slavery, the experience of people traveling from all over the ancient Greek world and beyond. You're trying to capture all of that in individual characters. So you're making creative choices, you're simplifying things, you're generalizing at times, but what we've done is we've also built this kind of rich resource alongside the VR which describes Dodona exactly what it's like and engages some of those creative decisions that we made. So you're absolutely upfront that this is a reconstruction, this is an approximation, this isn't exactly what happened, this is our attempt to understand as far as humanly possible from the evidence we have what might have gone on there and why it's important both for ancient historical people but also for us today.
God, it sounds so cool. I'm so excited to hear more about that as the project progresses. It sounds so cool. I'm so excited. Because, I mean, it sounds exactly like what I've been wanting games to do, right? I mean, right, some of the big educational modes in larger budget games do bits of that, right? Like Assassin's Creed Discovery Tours do bits of that, but right, I mean, I was talking with you yesterday about like some of the museum VR experiences. I know the British Museum's developing some. Oh gosh, who was the other one that had some really cool project? Was it in Athens that they had a big VR project? I don't remember off the top of my head.
There's one about ancient Olympia anyway that's kind of ongoing. It's really exciting as well.
Yeah, but right, my complaint with all of those is that it's just a space, and so seeing your team kind of helping bridge the gap there a little bit between more pure gaming stuff and this sort of cultural heritage VR experience and all the research going into that is so exciting.
Well, thank you. I think it relates actually to some of what we will be discussing with the Forgotten City, in that one of the primary concerns of the project was to understand ancient religious activity, ritual processes, what that does cognitively to people. You know, the
Yeah,
cognitive science of religion is involved there, and I think that when you're engaging with that, you can't just stop at the level of reconstructing a building, or even reconstructing a building and then trying to understand what it might have been like to be in it, like the Colosseum or a Greek temple or whatever it might be, because those are interesting questions in themselves. But when you're talking about the cognitive science of religion, you have to go further and go, okay, if we're reconstructing this ritual, what kind of effects would that have had psychologically and
yeah,
neuroscientifically on ancient populations and indeed on contemporary ones? Because that's what we're also going to measure. Does this experience have an effect, a measurable effect?
uh,
Because then you're starting to understand community.
absolutely. Oh, that's so exciting. And yeah, I think hopefully this is a game that we'll get to talk about that a lot more with, because the full disclaimer here is that I know very little about Greek and Roman religion. I am a medievalist, not a classicist, but even so, I'm hoping we'll get to at least see from this game's perspective, right? What do they think these rituals look like, and what impact do they have within the characters that we'll be engaging with? It's going to be such a fun
Yeah.
question.
It is, and this game really does do some good work there, I think, to explore those questions and those to make it a core part of the experience.
Yeah, and now let's actually turn to the game quick, because it's obviously it's such an interesting game, and the story behind it is just so wild. Because if you don't know, chat, this game started out as a mod of Skyrim that was then completely reworked from the ground up and came out middle of last year as set in real world history, being an ostensibly Roman city. And I mean, the potential this has is just so exciting to me. I never actually played the mod either, so I'm definitely working from kind of secondhand knowledge here. But the potential this has for translating fictional spaces and ideas, and then using that as a framework to then understand real world ones, is potentially so cool.
It really is. It reminds me of a quote from the game developer we've been working with for the VR project, who said effectively at their base level, games aren't different in terms of fiction and non-fiction. It's something that's so obvious when you put it in that way, but it's quite different when we think about other literature, novels and stuff. There's always different modes at work, but games don't have a different, just because the tools were designed to build a fictional world doesn't mean they can't equally be completely reappropriated for a historical world with very little effort. As well, I mean, an enormous amount of effort went into this game, but the point being that the underlying sort of ontology of these worlds is not as separated as it is in sort of say documentary to a sort of a drama film.
Oh god, I love that framework. Oh god, right. Right, I'm gonna go very far into the weeds here, but for a special edition that we are both working or both submitted things to, right? Do you know like Clyde and Dahl's idea of the scholarly game, or Don Spring's work on that? Right, they specifically propose that there is a non-fiction layer to games that is underexplored. But I very much love this idea that from a game dev experience, it's like, no, these tools work the same, regardless of what setting you're putting them in. That is such a good insight.
It is, and it's just then how you use those tools. So I agree. I think that, and then it takes you into even more interesting territory, because once you're talking about a game that has then been packaged as fiction, but includes so much content that could be easily reworked, just like the Discovery tours in the Assassin's Creed franchise, or even aspects of this, like what we're seeing right now on the home screen, is ostensibly a teaching tool at its core in terms of both reception, but also what it's actually doing in terms of copying and pasting aspects of the ancient world.
Yep, and that's something. I mean, we talked a lot about this yesterday, and I definitely want to rehash some of those discussions. But let's do that as we're seeing it live in the game. So, let's tab over here and get started. So, obviously, major spoiler warnings. Over the next 3 weeks, chat, we are going to be playing through the entire game, and that includes all the parts that get spoiled. So, if you want to experience this game yourself, and I certainly recommend it, definitely take that into advisement, but we're going to be doing something that I've seen a couple people are starting kind of actually concurrently doing, I think it's Zelos Athenaeum on YouTube is currently doing a playthrough of this game from a historical perspective as well. But we're going to be going through that, talking heritage, adaptation, and all that jazz. So, what do you say we get started, chat? It is, I believe, on all platforms. I know it's PC and Xbox, right?
Pretty sure it's multi-platform, yeah.
But I think it's all. I don't know if it's on Switch. I think it's not on Switch, but I think it is both PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. So, don't know for sure though. Look around. Yes. Anyway, let's get started. Okay. Game. New game. Also, chat, if you do have any questions for either me or Richard, please do put them in the chat, and we will happily talk about them, because that's part of the fun of this.
There's quite a crucial little paratext, I think, at the start. Basically saying there's multiple endings.
It's good to know. Right? It's good to be warned that there are multiple endings. So, we're gonna get whatever ending we get, and that's fine. Oof, we are having some frame rate stuff here.
Hey, you're alive.
Oh boy.
When I dragged you out of the river, I thought you were never gonna wake up.
Oh boy.
I checked your pockets for ID, a phone, maybe.
Sorry, chat. We
I hope
will
you don't
work
mind.
on the technical
But all I
difficulties
found
in
was
just a
seamless
moment.
change. So, wanna tell me who you are?
Amazing. I love it. We're just starting off super strong with the coin. Yep, as soon as we get control into an options menu, we are going to see what we can do to fix the, chugging chat. You should still be able to hear us fine though, so we will. Get that fixed as quickly as
Well,
possible.
it's nice to meet you. And I'm sorry to pry, but any idea why you were floating down the river? What's the last thing you remember?
What was I doing? Searching for ancient ruins, which makes us an archaeologist. Years of studying history give you occasional insights into the ancient world.
This is fun. I just saw one I chose.
Of course that's the one we're going to choose.
Surprisingly.
We're just... Excuse us, we have standards here, and that was the only one we're going to choose. I was on a covert mission, military issue firearm, but only 10 bullets. Fugitive, our time on the run has made us fast, and we're fast when sprinting. And amnesiac, your recent head trauma has increased your pain threshold, making you 50% harder to take down. Helpful.
Oh, you're an archaeologist? Then you'll definitely want to hear this.
Yes, we will.
I don't know if it's exactly what you're looking for, but there are some ruins just behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Roman, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to go in there and see if you can find a guy named Al for me.
Uh-huh.
He went in there a few hours ago, and he hasn't come out. I've been freaking out, wondering if he's trapped or injured or worse. I would have gone in after him, but he made me promise to stay here, no matter what. There's no way I'm leaving without him. So I'm just kind of stuck here, waiting. What I mean is, I was hoping you wouldn't mind going in there to find him. If you can do that, I can get both of you back to civilization on my boat. Please?
I mean, I want to... Fine, we'll have to ask questions first. But what I really want to do is get into the settings menu and see if we can fix this frame rate.
Sorry, I don't mean to be pushy. I just... What do you want to know?
Where are
You
we?
really don't remember? We're in Italy. This river is the Tiber.
What do you mean back to civilization then? We are at most, like, what, 50 miles from Rome? There's towns all along that river.
He's the guy who washed up on the riverbank not long before you did. I thought maybe you two knew each other. I guess not. But maybe the two of you can piece together what you're doing here. In any case, you'll like him, I'm sure. Once you find him, that is. Oh, there's not much to tell. Feels like I've spent my whole life in a dead-end job with an endless commute. Know what I mean? Oh, I'd rather not say if it's all the same to you.
Fine.
Look, if you really want to know all the tragic details, perhaps I can fill you in after you find Al?
Uh-huh.
Not much, really. But imagine what you might find in there.
No.
Priceless ancient
No.
artifacts.
Stranger, don't be
Al?
like this. Stranger, stop playing Tomb Raider games, and let's grab the trowels.
Great. So you're ready to go look for Al?
Alright.
Thank you. The entrance is just past those columns behind you. Please, hurry. Oh, and he left this here. But I think you'll need it more than I will.
A flashlight. Woohoo. Hey! My favorite mechanic in games. We have objects that we can spin around randomly. Okay. Saving. Oh boy. Chugging. Settings. Video. Firstly, overall quality. Medium. Alright, chat. Hopefully that makes things a little less intensive. Hey! Chat. I think we have fixed... Oh. Nope, we are still getting lag. Okay. Let's see what else we can do here. Generally speaking, foliage is bad news for us, as are shadows. I want to keep as many other things up as we can, because that will affect what we can actually see. But... see how that looks. Hey Chad, is that stable enough for you? Let us know.
It's hardly currently frozen for me.
Oh no. Right. Give me just a second on that front then. Then I will try and fix that again then. Alright. Reload that, so that should work. And then is that better? Oh, did we lose everyone? Okay. Do we live?
Stuck in a loop.
Oh, that's
Not the
not
good
good.
kind.
That's not good. Let's see if we can fix that. The joys of, you know, troubleshooting. Reload that properly this time. And are we better? For a brief and glorious moment we were okay. But now we might be back. Chat, it's looking stable on the OBS preview, so let me know how that's doing. The frames. Perfect. VSync, turning off foliage and VSync absolutely saved us. And the game still looks good without it, so that's fine.
I can't see it at all, unfortunately.
Oh no! What the heck? Alright, reload technology. Oh, there we go. Reload everything there. Well, then we may need to just accept that there will be a slight delay. Because it should be live on the stream side at least. Sure. Yeah, so, Richard, it looks like it's working on my end, right? It claims that I am sending it over to you. So, I'm not sure what's going on there. Thank you,
Would
Discord.
it help if I rejoined?
Yeah, let's try that. We'll just... So chat, we're gonna disappear for just a second, and then we'll be back again. Hopefully. Hopefully. We'll find out. Hello, chat.
Hey, that's back.
Hey! But I do not have your camera anymore. We are 3/4 of the way there. This is the joys of the live experiences, chat. I'm frozen again? Really? I mean, I'm currently not doing anything, chat. We're just reloading technical things. Okay. Yeah, so... There we go. I have your camera. Do I have your voice?
Hello.
Yay! We have everything in place again. Okay, chat. Let us know if you have frames. If we all have frames, we can continue actually into the game. I mean, immediately... Look, my immediate thought here is, right... Huge underground space. Honestly. But
It's
it
a very
looks
atmospheric start.
great, right? And, I mean, a very, very Roman temple right there.
Indeed, yep. Classic with the round style
Yep,
portico and the... Yep.
solid Corinthian
like this.
columns,
I think it's
we love it.
Temple of Fortunery, I think.
Yeah. And, I mean, on a much smaller scale, the same basic design all the way up to the Pantheon.
Yeah.
If you're reading this, it means I've discovered the entrance to an ancient Roman city hidden deep underground. Its existence is long forgotten, all knowledge of it lost, except in the Latin inscription here. It reads, "You who wish to enter the city, step forth and be judged.
Oh,
The virtuous shall be rewarded with eternal life in paradise.
nice loading zone.
The wicked shall find themselves showered in gold, but in..."
Oh no.
In vain, for this shall be their final resting place. Well, I wasn't expecting the trap mosaic. I'll be honest, I was trying to read the Latin. I was trying to read the Latin, not get baited by a trap mosaic. So be it. Hopefully that doesn't screw up too many things. Subtitle? Subtitle?
But in vain, for this shall be their final resting place. Could an underground city have remained a secret for all this time? Could people have survived down there, against the odds? It seems there's only one way to find out. If I'm not back in an hour, I'm somewhere on the other side. Consider this an invitation, or a warning. Al Worth.
I think they got the tone just right with the kind of underground city, because that's precisely how many Roman cities have come to light, thanks to quite literally being buried. In particular Vesuvius and Pompeii. So there's we'll see as we go through, but I think there's a lot of that playing out here.
Yup. Unfortunate clipping issue right there. Nice column inside of a column. But pro pecaria unius multis dolabuni?
It's pretty close.
Let's see. I mean, that's for money. Oh gosh. My classical Latin is so rusty. The many shall suffer for the sins of the... Oh, pro peccaria, for the sins of the one. Yep. Okay, good translation. And this is why we play as an archaeologist, chat. Literally always play as an archaeologist in every video game you do, because we love lore. Also, I quietly, love this space. They're doing such a good initial setup here.
Yeah.
I'm just really getting the vibe of these are super duper sacral spaces, which is going to put us in a very weird mindset going into the rest of the city. As it should.
You know history. How could you not know?
Exactly. Only, the second biggest English language history Twitch streamer. I don't like these statues. They're giving me very Medusa vibes.
Prepare for a lot more of them.
Oh boy. Also, definitely a museum piece mosaic right here. Right, someone definitely imported this whole thing just as a single asset.
That's a good choice.
It's a great choice. And another case of a thing, right, that we talked about yesterday, but is, I think, super interesting in context of this game, of the fact that, really, even though the setting is completely fictional, right, obviously, real in that it is using real-world cultures, it's also importing a bunch of just decontextualized and then recontextualized cultural heritage.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
wholesale.
Yeah. It's the beauty of digital worlds being able to cut and paste like that, and then mash it up into something that makes sense, in a very new context.
Yeah, and a context that is very, very spooky right now.
My one criticism of the stage is that the atmosphere is so perfect, but go back to that statue and you highlight what it says.
Yep. What could have made a
Is it-
gladiator flee? Like most
Well,
things, honestly.
It's always those. It does this a little bit throughout the game, but there's a few times where it sort of almost gives you too much. I think that it does so well because a lot of this setup is done entirely through, its atmosphere. It doesn't need to go into that kind of level of
Yeah?
giving you the explanation.
It's just vibes, right? I mean, ultimately, the thing that I think makes this space work right now is that despite, two things that are clearly, museum piece and or similar to but legally distinct from museum pieces, the rest of it is entirely just vibes. And getting the vibe right is just so important for both the storytelling and the historicity of the game.
Definitely, and the prologue does a huge amount of heavy lifting in that regard.
Yeah.
Of any game.
Also, shouts to what could have made a gladiator flee. Most things, because they were athletes, not professional super soldiers.
Because there's famous statues that were made of gladiators in Pompeii.
Yeah.
Or there's gladiator helmets that have been unearthed and stuff. So the game is already sort of playing into this disaster motif that's very familiar, very specifically from this kind of perception of Pompeii.
I mean,
stretches right through the kind of 18th, 19th, 20th centuries.
Absolutely. Right, you could tell me that this is a mashup of Pompeii plus the Parthenon on top for no discernible reason, and I would just believe you. I wouldn't even question it. I've been to both those places, I know that it's not actually that, but you look at this, I'm just like, yeah. That's totally what it is. Oh, it's so good.
That sound you just heard, you have to get close to a statue to see it happen, but it's worth
trying.
I was doing it when there's one in slightly better light.
Are they going shimmery?
Oh, it's better than that.
Amazing. F5 to quick save. Oh, I hate that.
You see
Oh
what
no
just
no no
happened?
no 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 nah
Run
nah
away!
nah. Oh no, there's more of them. Run this way instead.
Big question is who on earth is lighting all those torches?
Honestly, my biggest question of every history game ever: who the heck keeps these alight?
It's just this constant army of torchbearers.
Yup, so someone's doing all this work. And also, Gazishin and Zenwaris. Hello, my friends. Welcome. If the statues could stop, that would be real cool. Okay? Okay. God. These braziers are museum pieces too, aren't they? I feel like I've seen these exact ones at like the National
actually
Museum in Rome.
They're sort of modeled on Greek tripods, actually.
Okay.
That were often found at sort of sacred sites,
Nice.
including Dodona.
Nice. We love that. Also, you know,
There's
in
a
that
lot
case,
of trust.
another example of just like the random heritage material culture being
Yeah, exactly.
imported in.
There's also
Because, right,
there's
Roman sites, ostensibly. At least the arch is Roman.
well, yeah, but there's also Etruscan versions of those tripods. I should have said. So there's the game does quite well at merging things, but in a way that the ancient world wasn't just distinct
course.
periods, and has this kind of continuity and overlap, and that's very much evident here. You've got the very sort of Roman classic features like the aqueducts, but and I see what you mentioned about the Acropolis there, but of course there's also the hills of Rome and the temples that are on top of them. So that you've got very much a kind of equivalence being drawn in order to do this world building.
Who appears to be praying for help that never came.
See,
Yep.
It's just too obvious. They didn't need that.
Yeah,
I
they
really
literally
don't-
could have just said
it's-
praying and it would have been fine. Because I think we could figure out that things went poorly. Apart from the every scrap of color has been washed out of these Roman buildings, the everyone is turned to gold definitely suggests some catastrophe. Oh, Gazishin, since you were here at the start, to recap what we're doing, we are starting our playthrough of The Forgotten City, the Skyrim mod turned history game that came out in the middle of last year. And I am joined by Dr. Richard Cole, a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Bristol working on ancient Greek religion and virtual reality. Which is phenomenal. Oh boy, that's extra worse. But what? A golden statue of an old man wearing modern clothing. This must be Al, but how is that possible? Oof.
To whoever reads this, I'm sorry you had to find me like this. And worse, that you'll suffer the same fate I did. I've spent a lifetime in this place, going around and around in circles, searching for a way out. The inscription was right. There is no way back. In here, there are only two options: death, or that godforsaken doorway into the past. I made the mistake of stepping through it. I wanted to set things right, and I tried. I really tried. Whatever I did, it took me right back to the beginning. Don't make the same mistake. Better to end it all now, and find out what awaits you beyond that portal.
Oh boy. And you carved that all into stone before you went... Okay. So, I mean, the environmental side of things suggests that this is the turning into gold is an after-death thing. Right, on just...
Oh, I don't want...
On a structural level, right, it is either right, either no, it doesn't make sense any other way, right? There's no way to break your neck if you've already been turned to metal. So, obviously no spoilers, but this is my immediate thought, is that this suggests Lee turning into metal is an after-death thing, not a before-death thing. Aw, I wanted to go up onto the aqueduct, though.
I won't comment on the gold thing because, as the character of Al's just introduced the concept of the time loop that sort of underpins the game's narrative.
Yes.
Spoilers.
Yup. Yay, time travel mechanics. Oh hey. Octagonal towers, like at York. In a state of... See, that is the right level of detail. A young Roman woman in a state of panic. Just vibes. Give us enough to have the vibe and let us draw literally every scrap of interpretation off of the vibe. The thing I'm hoping to see right now, right, certainly in this state, I think that's probably deliberate, right? This state is very much like, oh yeah, this is what we imagine Roman ruins to look like, which is to say, bare as heck. Right.
It's an interesting one because the ruins we have are not really ruins. Rome has been built on and on and on and on so many times that the city's just a mash of different eras and periods and everything. So the only ruins you get, I suppose, are from, where things have unintentionally been preserved. So this is quite an interesting one because there isn't any real equivalent. At least not in the way it's presenting here.
Exactly, right? There's definitely no, like, in Italy, I would say, right, there's basically no sites that are just an undisturbed Roman ruin site.
No, this is kind of more that sort of imaginary ruination.
Exactly.
You get it in sort of the 19th century kind of engravings and stuff. This sort of idea of like Britain decaying and stuff like that. You got images of sort of Westminster in a sort of state of decay, but no awareness of sort of what had caused it. There's definitely a vibe of that going on.
Yeah, and right, all these like filigrees that I would expect to be painted, right? You carve them and then you paint them so that they pop in an almost egregious way.
You get more color coming.
Exactly, right? I imagine once we go into the past, the color will reappear, but it's like in the present, there's not even flecks of color. It's like, no, this is very much the popular imagination. Let's introduce that. And then potentially, hopefully, mess with that. In space. Thank you, Tips. You are the most helpful. Photo mode is my favorite analytical tool in video games. Honestly.
There's some good bits you can use it for in this.
Right, chat will know. When I was playing AC Valhalla, I used photo mode all the time to sometimes hilarious effect. Oh hey, look. Not as much color as I expected, but definitely already better. Much warmer color palette, green ferns, pomegranates. And what an excellent...
That's very much a Roman funerary kind of relief. It's
yeah, it is. Oh, I love that.
Sort of coffered ceiling from the Pantheon. Yeah, it's all... There's a lot of attention to detail.
And we're in the same space again. Hey look, it's the same person who I knocked over 15 minutes, or not even 5 minutes ago.
I wouldn't be so sure.
Salve, friend. I'm Galerius. Mind telling me who you are and what you were doing in the Shrine of Proserpina? Yeah, agricultural goddess of springtime? You're not from around here, are you? Oh, I see what you did there. Changing the subject like that.
Darn it.
Nice try. But I'll ask again. Who are you? And what were you doing in the shrine? What?
What?
I'm speaking Latin.
Oh,
You are too, although your
Wow.
accent's a little strange.
sad.
And you've just done it again. You're a sly one, aren't you?
Well, at least
One more
taking
time.
my,
Who are you, and what were you doing in that shrine?
I got extremely lost. Don't worry about it.
Oh, is that right? Well, just make sure you don't get lost in any other sacred places you're not supposed to be. Can't have you disrespecting the gods by accident, can we now? But listen, most folks seem a bit confused when they get here, but you seem very lost, and in more
Did the
ways
clothes
than
give
one.
it away? I think the clothes
So,
gave it away.
Let me make this nice and simple for you. Live by our law here, and we'll all get along just fine. Not laws, law. There's just one, the golden rule, and the punishment for breaking it's, well, it's kind of horrific. But our magistrate insists we take all newcomers to see him, so I guess I'll let him fill you in. So then, are you coming?
Alright.
Follow me. When I
Sure.
first arrived, I couldn't believe there were people living down here. But, as you can see, we've got a nice little
Well,
community now.
are you going to elaborate on the
Only
two gold
23 of
people
us
up
at
there?
the moment, if you count the 3 who are missing.
I think they're up there.
How, since nobody knows a way out. But it's just big and dark enough to get lost in, if you're not careful.
Which are we not going
Aren't
to?
you going to introduce me to your handsome new friend, Galerius?
Keep it in your loincloth, Aurelia. I'm taking him to see the magistrate.
That pompous old bore won't be magistrate for much longer. Anyone who helps vote him out today drinks at my bar for free tonight.
Politics.
Love it.
I'd stay
Uh-huh.
clear of
Roman
it,
game, and
and,
it straight away
if
introduces
I
you
were
to electoral politics.
Jeez.
Exactly. Electoral politics and also taverns.
Down on your right is our farm, where I grow all the food you'll ever want. As long as all you want is leek, cabbage, and wheat. Huh. That one usually gets a chuckle.
Aw.
The bloodless shadows wander without flesh or bone.
Don't mind Livia. She means well. She's just been in a bad place.
Okay, but
since-
she
Well,
screams
you know,
oracular
I don't know
priestess.
what happened to her. Up here on your right is the chasm. If you've got a weapon, it belongs way down at the bottom. Up on your left is the forum, where you can visit the market or get yourself patched up in Lucretia's clinic in the Shrine of Apollo.
Cool.
Most of us have almost nothing, just what we had on us when we arrived.
Not
and what
cool.
we've been able to make and scrounge up since. And this central plateau is where the magistrate and the other patricians live. So don't expect a warm welcome.
Hilarious. You're meant to be working the farm, not trudging dirt into the villas.
Ah, also
Take it easy,
classism.
Horatius. I was just taking our new friend here to see the magistrate.
Well, he's asked me to escort the newcomer personally. The farm. Go. Now.
You'd better go with him. But just remember, they're not like you and me. Don't let them use you.
All right.
What's that?
Are we going to provoke a
I
plebeian
said
revolt?
It'll take some getting used to.
Yeah, I'm watching you.
Are we going? Can we incite a plebeian revolt?
Greetings, citizen. My name's Horatius. Magistrate sent
Spoilers.
asked me to escort you to
Please,
him
can we?
personally.
No,
Follow me,
this
please.
is a plea, not a guess.
I expect the magistrate wants to brief you about the golden rule. It shouldn't take too long. He's
We
busy
strongly
preparing for the election
encourage
later today. Follow me.
late Republic class
The only
violence.
thing you really need
You
to
know,
understand
the
right
entire
now
first
is the
century
golden
BC.
rule. Let me see if I can explain.
It's
it
interesting because
this way.
they explain the
When I
time
was serving
setting in a
the
minute.
Legion, if there was a
kind of
mutiny
when this is
brewing
meant to
in
be.
one cohort, the legate in charge wouldn't waste time finding the bad apples among hundreds. They just divided us into groups of 10.
Ah,
Made us
decimation.
draw straws.
Yep.
And whoever drew the short straw had to be executed by
They've got the
everyone.
couches. They've got the couches
Didn't know
right.
whether he'd done anything wrong.
But more interestingly, I think, is
All
the,
of us in 10
the artwork.
die.
Yeah.
Crimes of
It's straight out of the Pompeian kind of third
Call
style.
decimation. If that seems like rough justice to you, you're in for a rude shock. Because the golden rule,
Ugh,
is
this place
exactly 10
become a
times worse.
thoroughfare.
The magistrate can explain the rest. He's up these stairs.
Thank you, Horatius. Be a shame if something happened to you later. Oh, but I want to just appreciate this place because it's so pretty.
Yeah, and they got the rich marble colours from that they drew from all over the empire to build different villas,
Yeah.
glacial estates.
And kitchen.
Oh.
Carrots are purple as
Yeah,
they
we
were
did-
before modern orange carrots were cultivated. Hooray!
Got it nicely done in terms of the
Uh.
building structure as well, with the kitchen sort of hidden away, although it would have technically been not even off the main thoroughfare, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I hope
Houses
we see some like public kitchens or even just like bread ovens, because those were just like straight up on the thoroughfare. It's amazing. Ooh, and I missed the mosaic.
Oh, don't mind me. I just live here.
Yeah, I know you do. I don't care about you. I care about the mosaic. Huh.
Possibly Actian.
That would make sense. This one doesn't strike me as much of a, like, museum piece, though it's possible. Oh no, something about it gives me, like, different vibes than the one we saw earlier. It's
Have a
weird.
look at the bread on the table. That's literally straight from the ovens of Pompeii.
Oh yeah, right, we literally found, like, a super, like, charred, basically petrified loaf of bread, didn't we?
Exactly in that shape.
Also, I mean... Well, I could quibble about, you know, these exterior facades all being still super duper uncolored. The interiors here are immaculate.
Rome's interesting. It's not as colourful as Greek temples and their
Whatever
sculptures.
are you wearing?
A lot of Roman copies of Greek statues were marble busts, so in some ways polychromy angle isn't quite so much of an issue, I think.
Fair enough. But, I mean, I love what they're doing with, right, the Italian marble just on the walls.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Is that a red?
Yeah, they get the vases really
Imported
nicely
Greek,
done in this.
imported Greek red paint vase.
Yeah,
We
red-
love it.
yeah.
I don't know if this, like, did Rome produce styles like this? This one, like, screams classical period Greek to me.
That's a good question. I don't actually know. I know that the black figure, red figure, yeah, sort of comes from Greece, but I think that Roman pottery kilns. I mean, there's the famous pottery mound in Rome, which was just a massive dump of amphory, Monte Statuo. So they were producing pottery throughout. I can't remember exactly how the artistic styles carry on, but
yes.
in terms of their relevance here, they're absolutely in the right place.
Yeah. By the way, a practical thing, chat. You may want to refresh the stream now that we've gotten the technical issues sorted. If you're still experiencing things, it looks like it's probably you may just want to refresh the page in order to resolve those. Also, reduce the delay.
Dinos.
There's so much. Oh, God, I could just stare at this space for, like, hours and not even have anything constructive to say. Just appreciating the fact that it's really, really pretty. Hey, look. This one's absolutely a museum piece. And probably of Pallas Athena?
Yep.
Wait. A bearded imperial-style portrait? Wouldn't that put us in, like, 2nd century? Like, later 1st or 2nd century at the earliest? I didn't think
I can
beards...
give it away.
I don't think beards were in fashion in Rome until, like, relatively late. I am
give it away
stretching
'cause
my every scrap of my classics knowledge back in... Because, chat, I haven't done classics since 2nd year of my undergrad, so it's been 6 years now? 6 years now.
Zolarium, they get that right.
Oh, it's perfect. I love the tapestry. Writing. Oh, it's written on papyrus. Perfect. May Jupiter Optimus Maximus continue to guide and protect you. Also, they're doing an actual, like, Latin greeting, right? Instead of, right, you don't sign at the bottom, you say someone to someone, either sends greetings or religious odd thing. So, whoever, right, the team here clearly, right, that's one of the things that it's so easy to just mess up. Right, it's a letter.
Indeed, yeah.
You write it like a letter. But the fact that they're using an attested Roman greeting is immediately telling me, right, that they thought about everything, even like the smallest throwaway details of just exposition.
Yeah, and then it's
And
how
that
they
is
manage to
super
relate that
encouraging.
to the. Yeah, and it's how they relate that to the plot. I think as the game goes on, that you know, it's really inspiring. That you know, there's a way of making these details not just part of the fabric, the tapestry of the space, but actually part of its experience.
Yeah. Hello.
We're finally alone. I assume you already know who I am. May I know your name? A curious name to match a curious accent. But I digress. I see you have the piercing and astute eyes of a man of great learning. We're always happy to welcome another scholar to our little
Great.
community. Equitia will be delighted to meet you, I'm sure.
Oh, and you can play as a woman in this, by the way. I forgot to say at the
Yes,
start.
I saw that at the beginning, right, where they had the two coins. One was Nero. I didn't see who the other one was. Tiberia, maybe?
Wondrous place,
Yeah.
would you? A secret city built deep in the mountains, many hundreds of years ago. Indeed. More importantly, consider the miraculous community we've built here over the last 7 months. 22 complete strangers brought together by the fates, living and working together.
22?
in
Did
our
it?
own paradise. And in all that time, not a single sin has been committed.
Well,
No fights, no theft, nothing. Have you ever witnessed something so extraordinary
There's 20
as a city without sin?
Yep, you get to meet them all.
there's not exactly a big city. I hate to break it to you, but a group of 22 is not...
Then you hit up against the limits of the game world.
Exactly, right? I definitely don't think they could realistically model more people than that, but,
Nor could I.
that's not
until I
exactly
came
ginormous community to
But the
be
reason
praising
for
as a great
this-
achievement.
This miracle is as simple as it is terrifying. If even one person commits a sin here, every last one of us will die. You see, the builders of this place, whoever they were, left inscriptions warning, "The many shall suffer for the sins of the one."
Uh-huh.
From what we can gather, breaking the law here will anger the gods and provoke a terrible punishment. Like the curses of Medusa and Midas combined, turning us all to gold. We've come to call it the Golden Rule. It's extraordinary that we've survived as long as we have, and each day I grow more and more afraid that our time in the sun is almost up. And now it seems that day is finally here. All that matters is that somebody in this city is about to break the Golden Rule. Why else would Proserpina send you now? Unless you and I can stop them, our doom is assured. I know that's a lot to take in, and you look like you have questions. Please, ask away.
Exciting. And Peter says that we may have skipped the dialogue option that actually tells us the date, and that we are in Nero's reign, which makes sense with the character creator of having a coin of Emperor Nero.
Yeah, absolutely. They said it. The fire of Rome has just happened. That's kind of the context.
I see.
An
What?
intelligent question. There was a good deal
Exactly.
of debate
This was
about
my
that
first
in the
question, is right.
year. Does
What
it
is
refer
it?
to crimes or to some
Was
other
that Picate?
ill-defined
Picate?
wrong? Of course, everyone agrees on the basics. No theft, no assault, and certainly no murder. But beyond that, it was more difficult to reach a consensus. What about lying, insulting someone, blasphemy, trespass, trying to escape, bribery, infidelity, suicide? As magistrate, I had to exercise leadership, and so I made a decision. We must uphold the laws of the Empire to a standard never before seen. And we must honor the peace of the gods, the sacred accord between the gods and the people of Rome. It is only by offering the gods the proper respect that we may prosper, as Rome has for centuries.
Now, you are less than a century out from the crises of the 1st century BC. What do you mean prospering? Rome is literally just burned down.
You're coming right after Virgil, yeah, and so a lot of this, what he's sort of saying there, stems right from that sort of Augustan reign, idea of the Pax Romana, and that, it's about rewriting the.
But yeah, it's just very funny to think about this in the context of Sulla and the Gracchi, and all the other
that's
things.
what's interesting about the kind of the Augustan era is an attempt to move on from all of that through these ways of framing Rome as something eternal city and everything, and they've captured that here quite nicely, I think.
Barbaric? What are you talking about? The Empire is the most civilizing force in the known world. Rome is a beacon of light in the darkness. For 800 years she has borne great
Okay, but I mean, I could have calculated theirs to be roughly 50 CE.
Artists and engineers. We have comprehensive laws protecting the rights of our citizens.
Yeah, the Germani would love to speak with you.
Mediterranean and beyond, from Gallia to Judea.
Tacitus has strong feelings about
the
this.
same, regardless of the color of their skin or their sexual preference. Can you say the same? When our people are starving, they are given food rations, and when they are wronged, they have the right to bring the guilty party before the magistrate. Our laws forbid treason, murder, assault, and rape, as well as theft and arson, and so on. No other civilization in the world is so advanced, and you have the hubris to call
love
us barbaric.
That this dude is all in on the Kool-Aid.
Well, it's quite clever because it's something the game does throughout with all these conversations, that because of the time loop and because you're a contemporary interloper, rather than just carrying that as the player and separating that from your avatar, you're literally bringing those things in, so you get this sort of really interesting moment of dialogue between the ancient and the modern.
Yeah. Also, all of that applied greatly to citizens of the Empire.
Of course. What else would we do with those prisoners of war who would
Oh yes,
otherwise
Judea,
have been
well-known fan of Rome. Good point, Raphael.
Besides, there are laws for their protection as well.
He captures this sense of cultural superiority that absolutely underpinned the idea of Rome.
I love where you could just go, yes, some part of all of that could be a port.
On occasion, but our gladiators are almost all volunteers seeking glory.
Also,
or
animal abuse.
condemned prisoners who would have
Just-
been executed
just saying.
anyway. I do not see the harm.
Let's see. This would be around the time that St. Paul gets executed, so that's fair.
Are you talking about our practice of decimation?
But
Of course. We could hardly unite all these warring tribes
I'm
without
not going to
disciplined,
follow through the
formidable
dialogue of don't you
legion.
persecute Christians, because while that is very popular in terms of the modern cultural, the modern A-level idea of the early empire, but also, I don't think a Christocentric framing is necessarily all that useful for judging the relative morality of different cultures. So, I love that they include that as an option, but it's one that I'm not personally gonna pull down. chase down that
That's
rabbit hole.
interesting. You get more of the kind of relationship between Rome and Christianity in this period later.
Yeah, right, because I'm trying to remember what the exact proposed dates are, because obviously, right, if we're in Nero's reign, we're only a couple decades after the best guess for Christ's death. So we're at right around the point where St. Paul should be either in jail in Rome writing letters or was recently executed.
And they scapegoated Christians for the fire, so there's
Yeah.
there's already a presence there.
Mm-hmm.
There was supposedly Simon Vegas that
Yes.
met with Emperor Nero.
Oh god. Well, Simon Magus is in the, kind of the network of Discord servers around the community, a bit of a meme, because we all love Simon Magus here.
Fascinating character.
He's so fun. One of our other guests who chat knows, Watcher, they like have a whole thing on like medieval Irish depictions of Simon Magus. And it's just bonkers. Anyway,
I'll have to check it out.
it's
Well, right now, you're a long, long way from home. I have made my pronouncement on the subject.
understood.
Unfortunately, there are still those here who resist.
But, like Ireland has like
whispering
Margaret,
blasphemous and
a
treasonous
druid who
lies
trained with
in the shadows.
Simon Magus and helped him in his duel
Keep a
against
close eye on them,
Simon Peter.
if I were you.
Nice.
Tip, these questions will be available later, but yes, why would I ask those questions later when I can ask them now and get lore?
You see, in my search for a way to save my people, I learned of an ancient ritual to Proserpina, the goddess of the cycle of life and renewal.
Ooh.
It's said to open a doorway in time, so that if the unthinkable happens, one person can pass through it and travel back to the past. And when I saw you arrive in a flash of light from the goddess's shrine, I knew that person was you. You don't belong in our time, do you?
So, the quiet thing I love is that, right, well, both of those things, right, they said that Proserpina was the goddess of springtime and harvest, and then also, right now, a different character from a different social background is calling her something completely different, right? Well, they're clearly related concepts, right? The annual cycle, and then the broader cycle of life and death. I love that they're drawing out those different aspects from different perspectives. One of the quiet things that I think a lot of video games don't do well, right, is when talking about the gods, they talk about whatever mythology you want as kind of singular entities in a very, like, George Dumasel single entity static pantheons. And already they've undermined that, and it's so good.
Yeah, it's really well noticed actually. I hadn't noticed that fine level of difference when I played it, but it's there at a higher level later on in the game as well. So it's yeah, it is one of those things that the games often, yeah, like you said, simplify to the point of just because it's so complicated.
Yeah.
Every single area had different denominations, different versions of their deities. It's so hard to kind of imagine a world where there was that level of difference.
Yeah, it's... I mean, in a Norse context, right, we're basically throwing away the entire idea of there being a pantheon, or are actively in the process of throwing that away. Well, that doesn't work in a Roman context. Just this subtle variation of just recognizing that different people with different focuses have different relationships with all these beings. It's such a good thing to do. And I'll be curious to see how well that goes or holds up as we see other characters, because right now we have, you know, agricultural, free laborer, and the magistrate. And I'm curious as we move in between those if we'll see even more variations and even more complex relationships, all
You do.
clustered around the same entity.
Yeah, no, you do.
Years?
Good.
That is unfathomable. Please, tell me, in your time,
Oh no, no, no. You don't want to know.
See what had become
Sentius, you don't want to know.
of this city.
Oh well. Oh well.
I have imagined it, our downfall, 1,000 times, but it still breaks my heart to hear the truth of it. All I can tell you is that it's a ritual sacrifice to Proserpina. I stumbled across instructions. I have to recite a prayer, and of course, as with all rituals, some sacrifice is involved. Usually that means wine or food, or in some cases a live animal. In this case, the sacrifice is rather more costly. The life of the person performing the ritual. I don't suppose you saw any sign of me in the future? Ah, I assume that was me. If I'm forced to perform the ritual, it's going to cost me everything. You'll try to make sure I don't need to use it, won't you? Well, I suppose that's all I can ask.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, I believe you're in the best position to go around asking people questions. You're new here, and it'll seem perfectly normal. As for me, well, it pains me to say my attempts to impose order have not earned me many friends. I fear I may not even remain magistrate after today's election. The people here would only treat my curiosity with suspicion. You shouldn't have that problem, though, unless, of course, you get off on the wrong foot.
Okay.
If I understand Proserpina's ritual correctly, that problem should take
Exposition
care of
dump
itself. Let me see if I
aside.
can explain. If you manage to prevent the sin that breaks the golden rule, I won't need to bring you here. I won't create the portal, and you will never have been able to come here. Thus, you'll have created a paradox. If this occurs, you should be flung back to your own time, having changed the past.
Yeah, that
for
checks out.
us. Makes sense?
Sure, why not?
Standard view of time
You ever
travel.
stare at a
Exactly,
problem
right? That is
so
the
long
most
you
standard
can't
view.
see it for what it is anymore. What's needed here is a fresh pair of
Hey.
eyes. The less I prejudice the independence of your investigation,
I appreciate that he was like, no, I'm not going to give you that guidance. Fair enough.
ah, good. So, are you with me? Can I count on you to figure out who's about to break the golden rule? No, I don't suppose you do. But I'm hoping that even if you're not burdened with a sense of self-sacrifice,
I mean, this is
you'll at least
very
see the
deeply
sense in
silly, right?
Self-preservation.
Ultimately, as far as I know, right, there's not really a conception of
I
time
need you
travel
to
in
investigate the
classical
city,
literature,
talk to everyone,
and this is very much,
if
you know, justifying the
trust.
existence of the plot.
I authorize you to enter private homes and inspect possessions
Yeah,
and
and there's-
documents,
But at the same time,
unless,
like,
of course, you're asked to
There's
It's
definitely
fine.
a kind of
figure out who the
You don't
culprit
need
is, and as
a
soon as
version
you
of-
have a name, come back and tell me immediately.
I want to disturb the story, but
Oh, and one last thing. If I were you, I'd start my investigation by visiting Lucretia at the Shrine of Apollo in the Forum. I heard wailing from there not long ago. Seems like something's not right.
Thank you.
yeah, there's Oh, sorry, I've lost the thread. We were saying
Right, the fact that it's all, you know, fundamentally kind of
oh, that's
silly.
it, the time travel narrative. Yeah, no, I mean, there's definitely kind of concepts that perhaps, if you're not familiar with Roman literature, you come across as quite odd. There's stories of traveling to the moon and back in Lucian. There's some quite wacky, very early sort of sci-fi ideas in certain aspects of Roman literature. But in terms of I don't think you need a model here for time travel because again the point is almost that you've created this. It's bringing the modern into the past intentionally.
Exactly.
And so in that sense, it's kind of refreshing because you're not you are an imposter
Yes.
on the past, and that character is aware of it, and sort of actually, I think, to me, helps with the immersion in the space rather than it being
Yeah,
an immersive break.
I totally agree, right? I think, right, ultimately, for the thematics of this, you have to get the plot to happen. Right.
And what's interesting is it makes real what happens with most video games set in history, that there is this essence of time travel involved in some shape or form.
Exactly.
Whether you feel like you're going back in time in order to be there, whether you're seeing something reconstructed, whether you're meeting ancient historical characters, whatever it might be, there is an implicit sense of time travel, and all this does is make it make it part of the plot.
Absolutely. It is super duper cool because yeah, right. I mean, you could talk about like Assassin's Creed, the amount of work they have to do to disguise the fact that they are imposing modern ideologies and ideological conflicts onto past settings in their meta plot is crazy. That's the thing they talked about in Assassin's Creed 1, is that everyone in that game who is important is an enlightened rational skeptic to you. And that's not a compliment to any of the characters in that game, but it means that no one represents like medieval understandings of the like Levant and the Alfheim. And this game just like lampshades that and says, yeah, obviously we are modern, we are playing a piece of media from 2021.
It gets even better than that.
That is also
really,
here.
Yeah, there's some brilliant references that come directly to refer to the contemporary.
Note, by the way, the comment I said just the other bit of they really got the like structure of a Latin letter correct, and now we have a 19th century diary.
Yeah, you know, continuity
as you do.
not.
Also, I like this way of doing the little bits of educational lore dump instead of just having like an encyclopedia that pops up and you have to ace it. It's just, you pick up something, you look at it, you recognize a sentence about it, and you move on.
That way, it sort of is again, within the context of the time travel narrative, it's interesting because it's a little bit like you're going around a museum picking up or viewing objects with a little description against them. It sort of takes that experience of visiting the past, of throwing yourself back in time,
yeah,
and puts it into a game.
Absolutely, that's great. And by the way, A Lonely Bean 2003, thank you for the follow just now. Hello.
Ugh, I wish Horatius would stop letting barbarians in here. What do you want?
Oh, yeah. What's your story? What a strong way to just like roll up to someone who clearly doesn't like you and say, "Hello, I wish to get to know you. What's your whole thing?"
You know, some people say it's the creation of an all-seeing God who's watching everything we do. But what kind of an awful, incompetent God would let my sister go missing on his or her watch? Did you hear that? Curse you, you coward! Where is my sister? What do you have to say for yourself? No response. Nothing. That's what I thought.
I see. Well, at least we know.
I'm telling you, this mysterious God.
At least we know blasphemy is not the problem.
Either that, or like people are saying, it really is just a children's fable my father is exploiting to frighten us into behaving.
After all the creepy golden statues.
Suppose we will.
Yeah. Who made the creepy golden statues, if not an awful curse?
I'm Sentia, eldest daughter of the magistrate. But you'd know that if you'd been invited in here and introduced properly. What are you doing in here? And why are you dressed like that? Really? I'd never have noticed, what with your flawless accent, appropriate attire, and impressive mastery of our customs. Now, remind me, why are we having this conversation?
No
I
reason.
trust you can see yourself out.
No reason, I'm just bothering everybody. Don't worry about it. It was my job to bother literally
On your
everybody.
best behavior, I trust.
I mean, apart from bothering everybody, yes. Ow.
Don't
Turns
walk
out,
into fire.
chat, we have confirmed fire is hot. It does in fact hurt when you walk through the brazier.
Are they?
Are they? Our gladiator is just doing push. Okay. Ooh, a triumphal arch.
Yep. It's like a little microcosm of Rome.
Yeah, that's my thought exactly, right? Because they did say, right, this is a several centuries old city that they are just inhabiting. But
That was the implication, yeah.
no. This is all looking like it's, at least most of these buildings are looking like first century constructions to me.
Or even later. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a kind of, again, a mashup of,
Exactly.
of Roman styles. But that's they do get the artwork on the walls incredibly accurate. You know, that is the artistic style that was discovered at Pompeii in this era.
Exactly.
from this era. So there's bits that sort of really try and tie very closely into a particular era, and other bits that, you know, are more familiar from the Rome that we may know from different periods.
Exactly.
But I don't quibble with that because it's kind of the point is that it's aiming to be a microcosm of Rome.
I agree, and I think, right, that is honestly an incredible design choice, right? Is don't make the choices that would give people grounds to go nitpick, nitpick, nitpick. Literally, I think by making it all vibe, my suspicion is that is going to make the history in this game better, not worse, because, right, the way I view it is that there's basically a bell curve of, if you chart like immersivity and on one axis and level of, I guess, specificity on the other one, where if you're going like all over the place, it doesn't work. But if you're trying to be like, oh yes, we're using only material culture from this year, it also doesn't work. And so you just need to find that sweet spot of where you are evoking the enough of a time period that people buy it, and then not worrying about whether every detail matches, right? So, right, we don't need Etruscan styles in here, even if the city is old enough we would expect very early Roman or Etruscan styles.
Yeah, absolutely.
We
and I
just
think
don't need that. It doesn't help.
Yeah, but also it kind of reminds me again of the Pompeii analogy that, you know, if you could dig up the whole city at the point at which it was destroyed, that's not a city frozen in time. That's a city of layers preserved in a moment, and that's what you're kind of getting here as well. That this is a city of different periods, of different eras, layered, and the plot goes a lot more into that as it develops.
Of course. Yeah, but right, my thought is just immediately, right, 22 people could not build this many structures. Period. Right, these are clearly things...
There's a lot of statues.
There's a lot of statues. And the question is, right, are these people who also stumbled in and then got turned to stone? Are these older layers? And how old are these older layers?
All
but
good questions.
Ultimately, right, those are all good questions, but they're ones that the architectural space does not need to answer. The architectural space needs to say, this is early Empire Roman. And then on the flip side, oh, where did you go? Dang it! There was someone standing here who was not turned to gold, and I was going to talk about them because it was something that I super appreciated. And then they disappeared. Cause right, the much more important thing is that those spaces, yeah, don't ignore whispers, I don't care.
The space is very real. All the characters in this space have their own identities, backstories, purpose for being here, and that's what makes the space feel alive. And the graffiti's brilliant.
Yep. Nequid forantur noli nocere. Noli Squiggle. A little bit of the monster of in the graffiti, but the styling is brilliant. But yeah, anyway, right, the person that was grumbling behind us before we went on that tangent, I noticed had dark skin. Oh, is he up here? Is this him? This looks like it might be him. Sir, I want to bother you. I want to bother you. Yeah, this is
What's
you.
your story?
Sir.
What's your story?
Name's Rufius. Better watch your step.
Thank you, Rufius. What's your story?
Can't talk long. Got to stay sharp, but family's from Solucia on Tigris, Babylon province.
Perfect.
But I've been roaming a long time now. Even joined the legions. The 6th. One they call Ironclads. Same way as everyone else.
Fair enough.
Because we're all in grave danger. Is it not obvious?
I mean,
The magistrate made me toss it in the chasm. Stupid. Going to have to improvise now. If we have to.
alright, alright.
I'll tell you this much. I hate the fact that my survival depends on the common sense of other people. Then you know what I'm talking about. I mean, all these people just bumble along like nothing's wrong. While we're one bad decision away from being wiped out. Like the last lot of people who lived here. Seems like I'm the only one ready for what's coming. Whatever that
Big
is.
2022 in the United States
It's
mood.
everyone for themselves. You've been warned. I don't know. But did you ever get the feeling some of these statues are watching us when we're not looking? Like they're waiting for something. I don't like it. Of course I am.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Bye. Thank you, Rufius. Point is, right, the architecture just is all vibe. And that means that when they're doing the interesting things of showcasing the actual historical diversity of the Roman Empire broadly and the city of Rome specifically, it's
all
like,
in the
yes,
characters
this is what is important. Whether or not this is 1st century AD or 2nd century BC doesn't matter. What matters is that you're representing the people and the cultural space in all of its complexity correctly.
Wanna go in the loos?
Yep, there's graffiti in the loo. Of course we're going to go in there. Here, Theophilus the Sixth. Okay, yep. Wow. Wow. Reminisce. I love the graffiti. God, I mean, I've seen some of the Pompeii graffiti that is basically just that.
Yeah, they definitely are taking a lot of inspiration from there. Also from other cities like Ostia,
Yeah.
other places that have been discovered through exceptional means or preservation, accidental preservation.
Yes.
Salve.
It is the process of turning those accidentally preserved spaces into something real that this game, I think, it really does incredibly well.
Yeah. I'm loving this.
This isn't just a VR reconstruction of the Roman Forum. This is
a living space.
something that's alive.
Yeah, that is clearly being used and not always or exclusively being used for what we imagine to be its intended purpose. Right. I mean, yeah, the idea of, right, that there's a medical facility in a Temple of Apollo makes a lot of sense. The practical elements of that, like, there has to be a clothesline to dry the linens that you washed, is not part of that imagination. Or all the random crap around here to actually do that work. I don't think that you walk into this space and go, oh yeah, let's just, like, fill up every corner of it in a context other than building a gamic space?
Yeah, it's a good question. Sort of thinking there about how games encourage a certain type of attempt at reconstruction. You know, there's obviously the purposes of the plot to achieve, there's the purposes of exploration, of player agency, everything. It is always interesting to think about, you know, from that very sort of basic level of assets. You know, what are you building? Why? What are you spending time on? Why?
Mm-hmm. Now, I am curious as to why Athena and Mars are in the Temple of Apollo, but you know, that's fine.
Give me a moment. Sorry I'm such a mess. I just lost a patient and a dear friend. Julia. She was a good woman. She was poisoned. She came in here frothing at the mouth. Normally I'd treat her with resin of silphium, a rare plant which is perfect for this sort of thing. And I knew Decius had some at his market stall, right around the corner. So I ran over there, but he just looks at me with this evil smile and says, "That'll be 1,000 denarii." There was no way I could afford that, and he knew it. Then that toad shrugs and says, "Supply and demand. I guess you don't value
Where are
your
you
friends
importing?
like that highly." Anywhere else, I'd just pay a thug to steal it from his stall. But there's no way I can do that down here with the golden rule.
Nice.
So all I could do is come back here and just watch her die. I kept on apologizing. And now I'll never know who poisoned her, or how they managed to do it without breaking the golden rule, or why she cursed that snake's cruel black eyes with her dying breath. Well, unless you have the power to bring someone back from the dead, there's really just one thing you can do.
Oh, my
Get
glass.
me that silphium resin. I'm going to have another patient in here soon. Could be in the next day or in the next hour. And I will not allow this to happen again. I don't care how you get it, but you have to make it happen. Because if I lose another patient this way, I swear to the gods below, not even the golden rule will stop me from marching up to that genetricum fututo and scratching his eyes out.
I love the random imposition of Latin suddenly.
No, I love... I mean, that is very, very clever. Right, because it's just overlaying swear words for ratings, but into Latin.
Yeah.
Just whatever machine is doing the translation for us has a profanity filter, and it is turned on.
It's also nice when you think about how, yeah, swear words work generally.
Yeah. Well, that's your
I'm
story.
Lucretia, and I'm going to be straight with you. I'm not a physician. This is Nevia's clinic. I've just been filling in ever since she disappeared.
But you have a
I'm
decent...
tired and out of my depth and miserable all the time. But I'd rather take this on myself than let one of you lot mess it up. Well, she used to run the clinic. She was a midwife, not a physician. But
Okay.
she was the closest thing we had down here. And she was good, too. Until she suddenly lost all interest in us. One day she told me she'd made some profound discovery about
Oh,
the
no.
golden statues. This changes everything, she kept saying. But I had no idea what she was talking about. The last time I saw her, the last time any of us saw her, she was muttering to the statues, like she could talk to them. And then she shut herself in the palace, barred the door from the inside.
Alright, we're breaking in.
Nobody's seen her since. She's been gone so long now, we figure she's either dead or up to something so strange that she doesn't want anyone else to know about it. But I really wish I could reach her, because that's the only hope I have of solving a troubling problem, a real thorn in the paw situation. One of my patients is suffering from terrible rheumatism. His joints are inflamed and he's in constant pain. I really shouldn't say. He wouldn't like it. And he's a little bit scary. He's become so irritable that the smallest things set him off. And I worry he'll end up losing his temper and lashing out. And you know what that means. I just know Nevia would know how to treat him, assuming she's still alive. But nobody seems to know how to get into the palace.
Okay.
Thanks, I suppose.
What I like is how, you know, when you start games, you frequently get the kind of fetch quests that go hither, do this, do that, come back, and it's very linear. You know, it's sort of in, out, even if that person you're bringing stuff back to changes. I think of a lot of recent games that kind of sort of overuse that far too much. And
Absolutely.
what's clever about this is how the characters not only interrelate to each other, but the way the time loop gets involved within that becomes a really interesting
Oh, that is. Oh, wait.
game mechanic.
Oh, God. Oh, that's amazing. Right, I'm just thinking through that, and right, if you make progress in one loop, you know how to solve the problem before they ask you how to for the problem, and so you can just do it, and they're like, how did you know I need this? Don't worry about it. Just, like, don't worry about it. By the way,
it's much less about that kind of, the sort of fetch quests, and much more about trying to actually relate to characters and work out what their concerns are.
Yeah, and right, since there's such a small number of people, and presumably a relatively small number of quests, you can actually
they all interrelate.
Do that, and have them all tie into each other, and have that meaningfully affect loops as we make progress. Oh god, that's brilliant! Oh, that's so smart!
It makes the mind boggle of how they managed to work out if someone does X on the first time, what impact will that have, you know,
God,
down the line. It's
amazing. Yeah, amazing. By the way, Cross Legion did want to know what the translation for the swear word was. It's cocksucker. Basically.
A city without sin might sound good on paper, but whoever dreamt it up didn't think it through. Maybe it was an attempt to create some kind of utopia. But snakes like Decius will always find loopholes to exploit.
Okay.
And what can we do about it?
Okay.
Absolutely nothing. In some ways, we are worse off because we can't take the law into our own hands.
Well, it gets into the morality of it quite deep as well.
Yes. And also, right, in a specifically Roman context, I love this because the plebeian tribunes have the veto power over even consul decisions in the late Republic. And so obviously, right, I haven't done early Imperial in long enough that I don't know exactly how that's changing. But, right.
It changes dramatically when the Empire
when consuls are no longer, you know, so much a thing.
It's the fact that the game is so interested in lore.
Yeah.
Is a very Roman concern.
Sorry, I don't mean to worry you.
I'd love it.
No, that is definitely not normal. There was one other person who claimed she could hear the statues talking to her. But that was Nevia, and she went a little mad. Well, she used to run the clinic until and then she's been. But I read one of my. He's become so. I just. Really?
Okay. So we've got. Oh, hey! I can jump. I was wondering what the jump button was. Boing, boing. Little arm flails. Arm flails. Yeah, friend, I have terrible news for you.
Ah, a fellow traveler from a faraway land. Greetings, I'm Georgius. It gladdens me to see another foreigner in our midst. We must stick together, you and I. And I must say, my sartorial friend, your clothing is most extraordinary. Leather boots in place of sandals, trousers with precise stitching, and such a curious design. I have traveled distant trade routes from the markets of Damascus to the farms of India, and never have I seen anyone dressed quite like you.
Good man, yeah. Don't worry about it.
I must know, from which exotic part of the world do you hail?
beyond the edge of the known world. I mean, if we're an American, that's literally correct.
Then you are an explorer, like me. Wonderful. You must have many stories to share. I cannot wait to hear them. We will have much time here to get to know one another. But for now, do you require assistance? I know you do not require clothing, so information perhaps?
Yes. What's your story?
My story? How kind of you to ask. I am a tailor and I run the humble shop.
Exactly. His personality seems to be that he is extremely Greek.
While it leans into stereotypes, it doesn't rely on them to the point where it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it is precisely because of the golden rule.
Oh yeah, if you could die at any time, may as well look good doing it.
Of looking one's best. I say, the more of our customs we preserve down here, the more we can preserve a semblance of normality, the better our chances of keeping our heads. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
Oh, and there is another reason too. If we all end up as golden statues for future generations to marvel at, I don't know about you, but I would like to look my best.
I mean, again, it's don't really keep drawing on the Pompeii themes, but you know, there are people dressed at their best with their coin purses stuffed to the brim, still waiting in houses, expecting it all to have blown over or to have survived there. It's not a kind of the description of people living under the threat of something terrible about to happen. Again, is sort of a very Roman thing, and has been sort of brought in here in a really interesting way.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's huge diversity of that, like the bodies in the Porta Herculaneum that were all crowded together, panicked. Yeah. But then the flip side is, yeah, you have those people that literally basically sat there and waited for the end of the world. So.
A good question.
I like that they can represent that even that level of diversity of experience.
If only I could remember it clearly myself. I remember I had just been to Rome to sell an extraordinary selection of wares, and drowning in coin, I decided to celebrate my success. I rented a prestigious villa by the Tiber, invited over a few select friends, and we began making our way through some of the most exquisite wine money could buy. Quite a lot of it, in fact. Now, I have had visions and awoken in strange places before. I have even found myself naked in the desert sands more than once, but none of that compares to this. This time, I remember people screaming, then falling into a void as empty as time before creation, gasping for air, and then nothing. When I regained my faculties, I was lying naked by the banks of the Tiber, gods know how many miles from my villa. Indeed. I'm lucky I was carrying a little extra weight. I believe it kept me afloat. In any case, it seems I'd been rescued and resuscitated by a benevolent stranger. I went to find firewood for his campfire, stumbled across a cave, and discovered that trapdoor temple. And here I am. Anything you like. Ah, yes. The many shall suffer for the sins of the one. As a Greek, this is nothing new to me. It is how our gods operate. Have you not heard the tale of the god Hades?
Hey, look, more relevant examples.
When he abducted Persephone and imprisoned her in the underworld. When Demeter, the mother of Persephone, learned of this, she did not punish Hades, the guilty one. Instead, she changed the climate of Earth so that it became hot and dry. Nothing grew. The grain turned to empty husks and the rivers dried up. Innocent people died by the tens of thousands until at last the other gods were forced to act, lest they have no worshippers left. So yes, we know this rule. This has always been the case. The golden rule has merely brought it into focus.
Fair enough.
I hope that our paths cross again soon, my friend.
It's excellent. I don't necessarily even have things interesting to say at this point. I'm just enjoying how exquisite they are, like, doing both the material side of things and the cultural side of things in this teeny tiny snapshot.
That's nicely put. And I was just thinking, the use there of the myth of Hades and Persephone is an interesting one because it quite often games will try and attempt to connect their narrative to some aspect of the ancient world, to something that we're familiar with, whether it's Assassin's Creed Odyssey connecting the plot into the sort of history of the Peloponnesian War plus the myths of Greece, and then its own sort of frame story as well. It sort of tries to push it all together, and sometimes that pushing really works, and sometimes it can feel a little odd. What's quite interesting here is how they use the game narrative to exemplify beliefs that would have struck or chimed with
Help! You have
ancient
to
people.
do something. A man arrived in the baths. A real nasty sort, with his face all covered up. And he's got a weapon. You have to do something, or he's gonna break the golden rule.
Wait, who are you?
Fabia, but now's not the time. Are you going to help or not?
No. How?
None of us do. The magistrate made us throw them all into the chasm. So now this man's bow is the only one in the city. You'll just have to improvise.
How is
Are you
this?
daft or just callous? If you don't stop him, we're all going to die.
Just callous. Good luck.
Thank you. He's still in there, somewhere. I have to hide. Find me in this empty shrine when it's over. What? We don't have time for this. I have to go.
No. No, literally don't. Don't do that. No. No. I mean, I was going to...
The shrine is collapsing.
Well...
Or Fabia.
Rip.
Fabia, no! Oh God, she's dead! Did anyone see that? The whole shrine just collapsed on her! Oh Fabia, why did you have to go in there? Poor sweet girl!
Yeah,
I can't believe she is dead. Fabia, I mean. She walked into that empty shrine, and the next moment she is lying dead under a pile of rubble. The gods are cruel and unjust. She was like a daughter to me. I'm sorry, friend. It's not right for me to lay my burden upon you.
No. Well, that went well.
Salve.
Hello, Galerius. I haven't talked to you in a second.
It's you again. Hope you're settling in, friend. Now, what's on your mind?
What's your story?
Oh, someone just died.
Yep, someone just died. Let's go talk to other people.
Sad, but I don't mind telling it.
We'll get them on the next loop.
I'm a farmer. Always have been. I grew up in a small village in Britannia, Camulodunum, with my parents and two little sisters. Lovely part of the world. One day, when I was about 20, my father and I were in the top paddock, loading our cart, when some Roman legionaries came along, demanding produce for their men. My father told me to run into the house for his axe, and so I did. I sprinted so fast I almost threw up, but by the time I got back, he was bleeding out on the ground.
Ouch.
And our cart was empty. That was my first encounter with the legions. My mother died of a broken heart soon after, and things went downhill from there. I took over the farmstead, but I was young. It was a struggle. More raiding started before too long. We'd come outside in the morning to find animals missing, our stores
that
pillaged.
Checks out.
These legion thugs just took whatever they wanted. One night, when my sisters and I had nothing left to steal, there was a knock at the door. I knew who they were, and what they wanted. I got my father's old axe, pulled the door open real quick, and before that soldier knew it, split his face right down the middle. But there were more of them. I never saw how many, because the next thing I knew, I was
I see.
waking up with a mouth full of dirt and lungs full of smoke. My home was reduced to ash. My sisters, dead. And they left me alive to see what they'd done. Still burns whenever I think about it. Yeah, well, I wasn't the only one this happened to. It wasn't long before Boudica led thousands of Britons in a rebellion against the Romans. Unfortunately, there were just too many of them. And those of us who survived, they enslaved. So, then I found myself being transported all the way to Rome, to be sold to the highest bidder. I spent a few years working for my new master, learning the Romans' ways, Romanized my name and everything. Tried to escape a couple of times, but they always found me, and I'd just end up right back where I was. I'd probably still be there too, if it wasn't for the stampedes breaking out. You see, about 7 months ago, an enormous fire broke out in Rome. Everybody was running down toward the river, screaming and shouting. I'd never seen anything like it. Human beings acting like cattle. I got swept up with them somehow, and the rest is a blur. The next thing I knew, some stranger was dragging me out of a river. Stumbled across this place, and I started my life over again. That's what I thought too, for a while. But it seems the gods aren't done tormenting me yet. See, I finally had my own farm again, safe from the grasping hands of the Romans. Or so I thought. Until Sentius the Decurion demanded I hand over all my produce. It's for the good of us all, he says. Only he takes the best bits for himself, of course. He even told me if I refuse his demands, I'll break the golden rule. I'm not sure I believe him, but then, what if he's right? So, it turns out our dear old magistrate is no better than the Legion thugs who took everything from me. I'm right back where I began. But don't you worry, Nemesis is waiting, and he'll get his, one day. He'll get his. Forget I said that last part, will you? I get carried away.
Absolutely not, Mangle. Absolutely not. This is Best Boy and I will die defending him.
Thanks, friend. I knew I liked you. Anyway, that's enough of me rambling. Was there something else you wanted to talk about?
Also, nice little shout out there of that Sentius is merely a Decurion. Right? Not a high-ranking official by any metric. Just like a mid-level military officer.
Yeah, there's...
Lovely, tiny detail that he quietly neglected to mention.
They've kind of brought it all into that sort of very local politics level.
Yeah.
There is, you're not dealing with the kind of, the grand strategy games, the kind of the imperial figures.
Exactly.
You're dealing with it's the sort of the daily lives of Romans and their backstories really strike home.
Yeah. Excellently done on those backstories. And then making them all actually, have relationships with each other. And also the fact that everyone thus far seems to definitely be very selective as to what they are and are not telling us. And making that hyper-local is a really good way of doing it.
Well, as much as I'd love to get out of here, the harvest's always more fruitful in another man's field, isn't it? But Scintilla, Sentius's daughter, went missing a few weeks back.
Oh boy.
Could be she found a way out. If anyone knows for sure, it'll be her sister, Sentia. But she'd never tell the likes of me. Oh, I don't give it much thought these days.
Oh boy.
I mean, everybody here's got their own view about what we need to do to survive. But I say, let's spend less time arguing about what it means to be good and just get on with it,
I like this attitude.
I can't see how I could vote for either candidate. I don't like Sentius much, but Malleolus is almost as bad. Even I could do a better job. Me, a farmer. And I've never given a speech or put on a toga in my life. Alright, see you around.
Bye.
It's like the classic Roman Is it Cincinnatus? The guy that was a farmer and became a dictator and then gave it all up to become a farmer again.
Yes. Alright, thank you, statue friend. But yeah, there actually was a question in chat from Magistressa. So, has Galerius adopted Greek religion, or was Nemesis adopted as a Roman deity? Do you know?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, if Nemesis was adopted, they would have been changed slightly, but it's not one I know actually.
Mm-hmm.
In the Roman
right there.
context.
I'm looking for Tiberius Quinctius Crispus, otherwise known as Quinctius. Do you know where he is?
Absolutely not.
I'm not sure I believe that, so allow me to explain something to you. I am here with orders from Emperor Nero himself to find and execute the cultist Quinctius for terrible crimes against the Empire. So, if you tell me the truth, I will allow you to live. But if you lie to me or otherwise obstruct the Emperor's business in any way, I will put this arrow through your chest.
Okay.
Is that understood?
Sure.
You are not off to a good start. When I ask you a question, I expect an answer. Is that understood? Thank you. Now tell me, who are you people, and what is this place? A small community. Ha! I was told Quinctius was a cultist, but I never thought he'd be foolish enough to lead me right to the heart of his mystery cult. You say that, but if you're not a cult, then why go to such great lengths to keep this place a secret?
What?
So you admit you're not allowed to leave. Threatening me is not going to help you, but in any case, that sounds an awful lot like a cult to me. I saw the inscription.
The logic here is brilliant.
I mean, he's not wrong.
I take it this is some kind of mantra you all believe?
It's not a man. It's definitely, yeah, sure.
A distinction without a difference. You've clearly been indoctrinated into this nonsense. Now tell me, where did you lot get enough gold to make all these statues? You lot are practicing human sacrifice.
It just gets worse.
No one distorting with
Yes, yes, because I'm the real villain.
You are the one.
It's all clear to me now. The secret sanctuary.
There's no way I could not persuade this guy we're a cult.
You're cultists.
Actually, probably time loop 3. I'm going to suggest.
What baffles me is how a person can believe in something with such
We
zeal.
need more information.
They just can't see what they've become. However, you still have a chance to redeem yourself by telling me where Quinctius is. Do not waste it.
I didn't realize this was the baths, I'll be honest.
Very well. Here's what I know. He's a 40 to 50-year-old man with distinctive eyes, one green and one blue. He's also known to have delusions of grandeur. The Emperor says he and his cult, your cult, are responsible for starting the fire which burnt half of Rome to the ground and killed thousands in the process. Who are you to challenge what the Emperor says? Were you there? Do you have spies and scouts all over Rome
What?
like
No.
he does?
Oh,
No,
but
you
like
don't.
it's the Insuli.
This is your last chance. Are you going to tell me where he is or not? Then you're of no use.
And
to me.
we're 3, 2, 1 dead.
Do you have any last words?
I love the dialogue options here.
Yep. Violet Arrow, everyone here is going to die. Jesus Christ. Yes, wait, we can at least get killed for being a Christian instead of a mystery cultist. Wait, hold on, this is better. 3, 2, 1 time loop?
Aha, I knew it.
Yeah.
Now it's my turn to tell you something. Once I'm done with you and Quinctius, I intend to kill every last one of you wretched degenerates. And I can think of nothing I'd enjoy more.
The many shall suffer for the sins of the one.
Wow. Whee! Where does Sentius go?
Yeah, go up there.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna get used to this town real fast. The runaway aspects of this. Oh. Yes, I'm fine. And now he's dead. And we time it. Space. Alright. So now we know how this mechanic works.
I like that the game forced the rule to be broken in order for you to explore the time loop in that way.
Exactly. Right, it looked like there was absolutely no way for us to actually do that. Or to, prevent that. Because at some point, we were going to walk in, and there's no way on the first loop to, you know, stop. Persuade him that we're not a cult.
At that point, yeah.
Right. I don't think we'll even get it on this time loop. That will eventually do it. But maybe the one after that will be able to stop him. We'll see. We'll see how this goes.
There is something you can do based on what you found out, but I don't want to give it away.
I'm Galerian. Oh, I guess how much did I drink last night? Oh, and since you seem to be in a hurry, you...
Hey look, we get new tools. What? Incredible.
Zip wire.
Just attach the pulley to the rope over the lake and hang on to the handles. If it works, it'll be faster than walking. And if it doesn't work, worst thing that can happen is you'll take a swim in the lake. I haven't quite summoned the courage to test it myself.
I love
But
it.
don't worry, it's completely safe.
Probably.
Probably.
Maybe.
All right. See you around.
Excellent. Actually, really, really useful. Really, really useful. Lets us skip a whole lot of stuff.
It's actually tied to a plot point later as well, so it's
good.
Everything that you have in this game matters. That's,
good.
Without spoiling it, that's what I can say.
Yep. As it should do. I mean, this game is already proving...
because there's a lot of redundancy in especially open world games. Here there is no redundancy.
Yeah.
And that does make you sort of check things out in quite a different way. That's just the nature of a mystery game.
Yoink. My goose egg. Goose, don't attack me. Goose?
Whodunit narrative, you know, you're looking at every single... Honk.
Honk.
The goat.
But yeah, since it is basically a whodunit,
we already know the assassin will break the rule.
Exactly. The assassin is extremely likely to break the rule, but that doesn't mean that they're the only one or the only way for the rule to get broken.
Exactly.
As a matter of fact, I would suspect that there's probably like a half a dozen different ways, at least, that things could go wrong.
Yeah.
And it's up to us to stop all of them at the same time. There's a lot of
statues.
Hey, look.
Cerberus lifts his triple head and lets out his threefold.
Are you speaking poetry to me?
Livia, would you stop muttering like Medea over a cauldron? You'll scare away my customers.
Hey, look.
They follow
Literally.
their trades, imitating their previous lives, but they are ignorant.
This again. You're in
Literally
world
the
of your
Pompeii
own,
graffiti.
aren't you?
Yep.
Galerius. Galerius for magistrate. I would rather drink a really special brew. Oh no. Life has been torturous as the set. Oof. I suspect that's one of the magistrate's daughters. In fact, probably the younger daughter, the one who was missing. From Kharash, and when she describes his recurring dreams about a stranger named Kherti. A little Lucretia about the dreams, The man by the river was there, as always, his face shrouded in shadow from that peculiar ram headdress. Once again, he introduced himself as Kherti and told me he dragged me from the river. Isn't that one of the Egyptian guardians of the Duat?
I can't confirm or deny.
Now, I've not done Egyptian in even longer than I've done Greek, but isn't... A ram's head screams Egyptian. Right, animal-headed beings are immensely the pop cultural imagination of Egyptian gods.
You, Sisyphus, attack
You are not
or
wrong.
pursue the stone that always returns.
And given, this thing, right, given the nature of this game and the fact that they are very much adopting the pop cultural imaginations in order to comment on and complexify it, which is, by the way, brilliant, we should be saying, I feel like we should assume until proven otherwise that that is Egyptian.
A good assumption.
Small wooden model of an arena, possibly Verona Arena, which was completed in the 1st century and is still in use today. And right, the name is ringing itself as like something from the Book of the Dead, but I cannot quite place it.
You, Sisyphus,
Yes, Livia.
attack just as the ocean accepts the rivers of all the world. So this place accepts all the souls, but it does not notice the crowds that come. The bloodless shadows wander without flesh or bone.
Okay.
Some crowd the forum, some the house of the ruler of the depths. Others follow their trades, imitating their previous lives.
Fair enough. No, I think I understand what that means, and it's not good news for us.
They never do. The bloodless shadows. This is their punishment. Help me. You cannot help me. I have seen things. A pattern, a terrible pattern. It is better for you if you remain ignorant.
No.
Pandora's box must stay closed.
God, okay.
I'll say no more.
So this character seems to me
The
to
newly arrived are ignorant of the road before them.
be not full-on, right, nonsense speaking like, say, the Oracle at Delphi, which then has to be interpreted, but is very much evoking that same thing, because of the characters we've met so far, is
Sisyphus,
far and away
attack or pursue the stone that always returns.
firstly, most insightful, clearly able to understand things that very much seem to be truths that we do not necessarily, no one else can, including barely us. And also is speaking with an absolute boatload of mythological references. Right?
Yeah,
Way
absolutely.
more than anyone else. Which is great.
Yeah, there's definitely you got it right. There's an echo of a lot there. everything from the kind of Sibyl
Yeah. Oh yeah, right. The sibling
to
prophecies
the oracles
are
of ancient Greek.
obviously hey, Garum. Aw, I love the artwork. I love it. But yeah.
There's got to be garum. If it's a Roman thing, there's got to be garum.
Of course. But I like that it's not just in like a random like undecorated clay pot, but rather they actually painted it, so that you get a sense of what it is, even if you've never heard of the thing in your life. You're like, oh, I think I know what this is. Aww. Aww. Anyway, you were saying about Sybil and the oracular layers?
All of these characters, because there's only a few of them, they act as this kind of nexus point for lots of different aspects of antiquity. And in that way, I think they carry with them this kind of this depth that is born out of their characterization, but sort of extends even beyond that.
Yeah. My god, because I mean, right, there's a lot of very real depth already in what we've seen in just the characters being fleshed out as entities who, like, exist in real space and interact with each other and have relatively deep internal lives despite being fictions. But then, you're right, I think there's a lot of implicit depth that is kind of neither confirmable nor deniable by...
But is yet somehow familiar as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, when we just layer over everyone with how they do, like, represent entire social groups, entire, like, centuries of amalgamated entities.
It's the same with the kind of the golden statues as well, that it's a great modern plot point and sort of feature of this world that draws explicitly, as I even mentioned, you know, on the Midas story.
Yep. On Medusa.
Turning people to God, but also to Medusa as well. But it's neither one of them. It's somehow it's a new inspired story. Just those stories themselves were inspired by.
Vote for Malleolus for a free drink at my tavern.
Yes, it's great. Ah. Oh look, it's another garden bottle. I am noticing, right? Clearly, there's a little bit of, you know, asset reuse, and that's understandable.
So exotic.
Right. Like, there is kind of a hard limit to how much you can actually...
You stay away from my money.
I'm just exploring your house and room. Don't worry about it. I'm not gonna steal your money.
But also, like, I like that there's a few self-aware references to sort of gaming culture as well here. That, you know, there is, in other places, it's like, oh no, I need to go and help you. You're a really disadvantaged family. Something's happening. A monster's preying on you. But I'm gonna go and steal all your stuff in your house first.
Exactly.
You know, there's a nice element here where it's, you know, you're welcome to, but if you do go to steal the stuff here, it's likely to break the golden rule.
Oh yeah. A reasonable chance of just getting literally everyone killed.
Unless you want me to slip some hemlock into your next drink, get out. Oh, do us all a favour and drink hemlock, cap at murder.
Okay, fair enough. I didn't steal anything. I have permission to go steal... Actually, oh, I did not get permission to go into everyone's house. Oh, I forgot that I did not get permission to go into everyone's houses this time.
Also, I just love how this is showing everyone's different experience, because I never actually got that reaction out of her. Either I clearly didn't explore her room when she was there, or something else, but it's just, yeah. I always love that shows
hey friend.
just how subjective and, yeah.
Hey friend, do you mind getting
different
out of the
everyone's
way?
time loop will be.
Uh-huh. Do you mind getting out of the way for just a moment? I want in. I appear to have gotten the door properly stuck. I can see a dead body back there, and not a turn to gold dead body, a dead body, and that's spooky.
There's a way of opening that door, but I think you can probably guess what it involves.
We are running low on time for the stream, so, we're gonna poke around a bit more, and then we're going to intentionally throw for content. I completely forgot that that is an option. You can just deliberately throw. Right? Throw away a loop because it doesn't necessarily matter.
Yeah.
Right? None of this... for the moment, nothing we do matters. And so if it gives us new information, we have all the time in the world.
Yep.
I'll maybe feel a bit bad about doing it because people die. But then they undie, and so whatever.
Because I think probably all of us are more familiar with the idea of time loops from film than we are from video games, although I've written elsewhere about how video games with save games kind of create time loops all the time. And that's really interesting because when you think about time loops in film, you think about how it allows people to be to have preternatural awareness of what's going to happen and sort of look like they're, that they have sort of superpowers because they're aware of everything that's going to happen before it happens, or they have sort of impossible knowledge.
Yes.
And of course, save games give you that, but here it quite literally is the plot to give you that. But in the process of going through the loops, as in film, characters that go through the time loops, all the way sort of from the classic examples like Groundhog Day, they develop themselves as characters, they develop ideas. And I think what's interesting about this game is that you as a character and us as the player develop more and more as the time loops go by, because you get to know the characters better, you understand their concerns, and you develop your own awareness of the space and the impact you can have on it.
Yep. I love that. I mean, I love that take on it, and I love what that actually means for how we explore the historical space. Right, because ultimately, in some ways... Oh. And thank you, Wolfie, by the way, quickly for the tier 1 gifted sub to Kyra. I appreciate that. But, right, in some ways, that is just doing historical research. Right?
Yeah. Go back again and again until
You go and you look at primary sources, and then you study them, and then you'll come back a bit later and you'll study them again, and you'll repeat that.
Testing new frameworks each time, yeah.
And then slowly, over a period of years, and building on not only your own looped knowledge, but scholarship by others that are themselves looped knowledge. Oh, I made back up here. Okay. I vaguely understand how this city is laying out. Sure.
Don't worry, over the process of going through the loops, you get to know it quite well.
I'm sure. I'm sure you could... I'm sure there is at some point, potentially limits to how many loops there are, but more importantly, it seems also like that... Well, actually, I can't tell, right? Is it locked by a number of loops, or is it locked by... achieving certain conditions within a loop? Right, so, right...
I'm not sure, because I only managed a certain number of loops before I got a certain ending. So...
Yeah.
I mean, what's interesting is the character of Al, who, hung himself at the start, is representative of... He tried so many times and it didn't work, and so that was the outcome. So I'm not sure if the game has set a hard limit. That's an interesting question.
Because I don't want to be completely throwing all the time, just to see what happens if there is a hard limit, because, that'd be risky. But, I think for the moment, I'm getting some inklings on what I want to do in future runs. Actually, I'm gonna figure out how to get over there. Right, because clearly, right, these old chests I can take from without breaking the golden rule, no problem.
Not people's,
the lesson to take away here is that if I can get 1,000 denarii from these old chests, I can buy the resin.
Exactly.
For taking care of that problem. Then the next step would be, I think, well, so that solves one thing. We'll achieve one condition. I think before we end, why don't I run up to the palace, which I assume is this one up here, and then we'll take a look at what we take a look at that space, see if we can get any inkling of what we want to do for that. And then we will steal Aurelia's money, trigger a runaway, and see what's in that one room with a dead person. A proper dead person. We'll trigger a time loop, and then we'll call the stream. Sound like a plan?
Sounds great. I'm just going to grab a water quickly. Excuse me a second.
We'll just be looking around here. Chat, what are your thoughts right now? Because I'm having a...
Hey! You're not thinking about going into the cistern, are you?
I mean, we're not...
Contrary little cap at murder, aren't you?
Uh-huh.
Nobody's told you about Hannibal? Ugh, why do I have to do everything round here? So, there was this guy called Hannibal, right?
Uh-huh.
Funny accent.
Uh-huh.
Used to go down into the cisterns looking for junk he could clean up and sell. One day, a few weeks back, he comes out and tells me the cisterns are haunted. Said he could hear spirits wailing. Of course, nobody believed him, because who trusts a Carthaginian, right? Anyway, a few days later, he goes back in. And hours go by, and he hasn't come back out, yeah? So I go down after him, and it's dark. But in the distance, I can just make out his body, sprawled out on the ground. And hunched over him was something that made my blood run cold. No word of a lie. I saw a creature. Like the corpse of a man who'd been flayed. And it was eating him.
Well, that's not great.
If it was a man, maybe. But I swear on my life, this was no man. More like a Strix. Or some Versipelus that feeds on human flesh.
Cool.
I didn't stick around to see which. What any sane person would have done. I legged it out of there and put a sign at the door to warn the others.
Maybe.
Good idea.
We'll come back to you later, suspicious looking door. Yeah, Raptorus, obviously. Of course we have someone from... if we have a Carthaginian, they're named Hannibal. Because that is the reference, right? You gotta put that Easter egg in here, because you'll feel bad if you don't. Platforming? Secretly a platformer? Pause? Okay. I don't think this is the way. No. He's just a random dude who happens to be named Hannibal, because clearly that is the name.
Sorry about that.
Totally okay.
Oh,
We're
on a roof.
We are on a roof. Of course we're on a roof. Why would we not be on a roof?
That's a good question.
We tried to go into the cistern, and then we met...
Oh, yes, and you were told you can't.
We were told we at least probably definitely shouldn't. I don't know that that's the same thing, but you know. Oh. Cool.
You can crouch.
How do I crouch? I crouch by doing that. I still can't get through. I'm insufficiently sneaky. There is, however, stairs. So we could just, like, you know, go upstairs.
Upstairs.
I don't know. It seems...
The stairs are an interesting one because Roman houses, yeah, we've got a good sense of the floor plans and we've got a good sense of the downstairs, but upstairs is quite hard to model.
It's, yeah.
So it's a bit more speculative up here, but you've got the frescoes up here are absolutely taken straight out of some of the gardens in Pompeii.
Yeah, and they're gorgeous. And I like the idea that this is just built up, like, directly with that central courtyard and the central open space. And it's basically just a balcony, maybe with some things coming off it. Okay, if I can get up there,
absolutely.
I can get down to here again. That doesn't help me. I'm trying to get up to there, because that's a...
Oh, there, so...
I assume that's the palace.
Yeah, so if you go back to the forum, entrance to the forum, up those stairs.
Yep.
That one, yeah. And then you go right at the top of the stairs.
Keep an eye out for Scintilla, would you?
Keeping an eye on things, Horatius?
Yep, up this way and then up this way. Oh, another one of these. Oh, so Hadash is another one who's missing. Okay. Right, so we know Scintilla... Yep, I saw it. I'm now curious as to what's around the corner here. Oh, it puts me back into here.
Toilets.
It's back to the toilets. Gotcha. Okay. So we know Navia's in the palace. Scintilla's missing. And Hadash, we don't know yet.
Yep. So you won't meet all 22.
Versipellis, Aglaeus, you translate correctly, it's a werewolf.
Say that again?
Well, Aglaeus in chat was saying, like, what is a Versipellis? A turnpelt?
Oh, right.
It's a werewolf. You translate correctly, it's... Oh good, we have arrows now but no bow. Ow. Fire is still hot. Spoilers. I see why they're having trouble getting in. And 200 more denarii, so that puts us... We're at like 700 denarii right now, which is pretty good. Oh, well that is an invisible wall right there. I was going to be sneaky and get on the roof. Fine. There's nothing here. This door is just locked. Oh, there's a note on it. I'm locking myself in. Don't try and follow me. Nothing good will come of it. Well, that's understandable. Okay. Also, your camera is still turned off, Richard, if that is intentional.
Oh, is it? Oh, no. I turned it back on. I'm not sure why it's
Yeah,
not
it was there
coming
briefly, but then it turned itself back off. And...
Come back on now?
It is not. Troubleshooting. We love it. We love Discord. It's so helpful. You may want to just hop off and then hop back on again like we did earlier. That did fix it last time.
Will do.
Three, two, one. Do we live? Technology. We love technology, don't we?
This is still not working.
It still is not working. No, it is no big deal. We will look at troubleshooting it elsewhere. Because there's only a couple minutes left, so I'm not too... Hey, look. Another locked door. Very suspicious looking blue door, which, by the way, I was talking about the architecture earlier, and the fact that most of this seems to be mostly vaguely 1st century Roman, at least to my untrained eye. You get through here, and suddenly this is a spot that does not look that.
No, indeed.
This looks way older. At least, not necessarily actually older, but way more weathered. Which is...
Yeah, it's...
Good. I love it.
There is a plot point coming up.
Salve, friend. I'm Octavia. Welcome to life under the Golden Rule. It's a ghastly thing, is it not? How are you faring so far?
Fine, thanks.
Ah, another stoic, perhaps.
Okay.
We all need something to help us through times like these.
Uh-huh.
We've all been where you are now.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I first arrived.
Mm-hmm.
I used to lay awake at night contemplating the big questions. Why am I here? Is there a way out?
No. You see, the difference, Octavia, is that we are the player of a video game, and so we will find the answer to
I don't have
this.
any of the
Maybe.
answers, I'm afraid. I don't think anybody does. But I'm happy to share with you what I've learned.
Please.
Here, in this place, the magistrate has me earning my keep by cleaning and pruning the gardens. It's not quite how I expected my life to go. I used to live in a lovely villa on the banks of the Tiber. I was even betrothed to a handsome young man from a prominent family. But long hours of menial labor for the good of the community has its own charms too, I suppose.
Yeah.
If you like. The many shall suffer for the
Layers.
sins of the one. I think about those words a lot.
Okay.
I'd like to think that if we will love our neighbors as ourselves,
Hey, look.
and do to them as we
Hey, look,
have
it's
to
reference to the
them,
other golden rule.
we'll all be fine. But on the other hand, I was always taught the intent of man's heart is evil from his youth, and that all of us are born with a tendency towards sin.
Who's that quoted?
And that's where I get stuck. Is it true? Are we born with a tendency towards sin?
Have a think.
You don't think that's a little naive? I suppose you've never seen what I've seen. Innocent men and women, torn apart in arenas while thousands of Romans look on and cheer. If that's true, then sooner or later, things are going to end badly for all of us down here. Unless, of course, there's some kind of divine intervention.
We'll keep hands close to our chest here.
Please keep that to yourself. I know you're not from around here, but things are very difficult for us right now. There was a terrible fire in Rome last year, and our emperor decided to make us his scapegoats. There were executions. It was horrible. Oh, thank you. You have no idea how much I appreciate that. All right, well, it was lovely to meet you. I look forward to getting to know you better over the coming months. And if you ever...
I can't believe this is how it ends.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. No. No, 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 no.
No, no, no.
Ulpius, what are you doing? Get back from there. If you lose your balance, you'll fall.
That's the idea.
What? Why? Why would you want that?
Why do you think I'm stuck for the rest of my life working for a man who treats me like an animal?
Uh-oh.
I know things are hard for you right now. They're hard for all of us. We're all in this together, Ulpius. Please just think this through.
No, no.
If you
Once
do
again,
this,
Chad,
it could be the sin that seals all of our
don't
fates.
say this.
Is that what you want?
I'm sorry, but I just don't care anymore.
Please, Ulpius. Help him. If he goes through with it, it could be the end for us all. I don't know what to do. I've never had to deal with this sort of thing. Please, you need to talk to him. Thank you. And please, choose your words carefully.
Let me guess.
Nope.
You're going to lecture
I
me
am
on
not
how
going to lecture you,
suicide is a
because
crime
we
against
can
the
be
Empire.
better.
I screwed up my life. That's what's wrong.
Okay, I love...
I borrowed money, and when I couldn't pay it back, I wound up in debt bondage. I'll be stuck slaving away for that Culus Cumulatis Malleolus for the rest of my life. I am out. Wherever you are, Scintillum, my love. I'm sorry.
Ulpius, no!
Well...
I can't believe he went through with it. Oh Lord. That poor lamb. I'll have to let everyone know what happened. And I guess Malleolus will have to clean up the mess in his villa.
Well...
It's of his own making, after all. And I'd best pray for poor Ulpius.
What did you just... Interesting. Firstly, why is it saying... Why are the whispers saying follow him?
Oh, you can follow him.
I can follow him. Right, the whispers seem to not have my best interest in heart. Oh. 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 I understand. That will drop me straight into the cistern.
It drops you to Malleolus's villa.
I mean, there's a hole in the bottom, though, that goes below that. Right. No, Whispers, I hear you, but no. So, obviously that is a difficult subject matter, and, needs... Oh. Game. Please. Game. Needs to be handled with care. Oh, heck.
I think...
Ow.
Well,
Awkward.
and you're dead.
Yep.
No, I think the
We'll see
Do you feel
where this
like-
actually loads me. Or if the game just crashes?
Did you feel like they have taken care with the backstories in order to make the present reactions of characters representative of their situations? And that's, you know, again, where the sort of realism of this comes from, I think.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, there we go. It lives. It lives. Yeah, the other thing with that, though, is, right, not only does it, to some extent, take care with the portrayals of all these other characters and their histories and the ways they would react to those events, but also it seems to give us a chance to implement, you know, best practices on the how to actually talk to and care for someone who is having suicidal ideations. And
Yeah,
so
indeed.
instead of just being like, no, this is not how you do it, they're like, yeah, we accept that, right? This is how people in this time period may have responded, given various other backgrounds. And yet also, here's a chance to react differently.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sort of games being able to explore difficult issues, because sometimes they avoid them entirely, and it's quite refreshing, I think, when some of the darker aspects of human condition are explored in a way that's
love
both
your
sensitive and...
clothes. So exotic.
Now, here's a fun question. What else does count as breaking the golden rule? Because there is a thing I very much want to explore a little bit up that way, and I need to throw for content in order to do it. So Aurelia, we will talk to you next time. We're gonna steal your stuff now.
The
Yeah!
many shall suffer
There we go.
for the sins of the one.
Ow. Heck. Move. Hey. Stop it. Are you going to chase me? Dang it. Ah.
It's quite hard. I tried a few times to get past that one.
Well, we will. I believe in us. I believe in us and our power. We will keep trying until we get it, because I very much want to see. I'm not going to have a lot of time, but if I can get that dodge, force her to move. If I can just force her to move. Oh, boo, that doesn't actually count? That didn't count as an autosave point. Lame.
No, it doesn't also say very often.
Alright. That's okay. We'll give it one more shot then. See if we can get through past there. Because I very much want to know what is inside that room. Because it feels important that we have seen exactly no skeletons in this entire space except one.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Right? Literally everyone else is one of these pseudo-undead golden statues. And
You, Sisyphus, attack or pursue the stone.
You can quick save before you steal.
that's true. F5, wasn't it? There we go.
Sins of the one.
Hold a quick save right there. Ow. Come on. Are you to aggro on me? Thank you. Ah, you whiffed. We're gonna need to dodge around. Be good. Be smart. Ow. Through the door. There. Oh god, there's so many. And there's just a dead guy. Okay, no examination available there? No examinations of the dead. Okay. Interesting. Do Denari carry over between loops?
They do.
That's
As
big.
your other items. Yeah, it's something that took me a few times to work out.
That's hugely valuable. Now I just have to make it there without dying. Hey, look.
Hey.
We made it through.
Nice.
And that means that we are now... It should autosave, because we're at the start of a loop. And I would assume it would do that. I've got a bunch of arrows. I've got a lot of cash. Most importantly, should have a lot of cash right now. 4,800. Which means we can make some good progress next time. Alright.
Absolutely.
So, first and most importantly, thank you so much for coming on for this. And chat, can we get a big round of applause for Richard for joining us for this? It has been absolutely lovely to have you.
My pleasure.
And we
Looking forward to the rest.
Yeah, we will be back next week to keep pushing forward with this. But before then, I will have 2 other streams, because we are a variety streamer who do a variety of historical games. So, big thanks to all of our patrons listed here who make this possible. If you want to help support the channel as well, you can do so over at patreon.com/LudoHistory. And big thanks to everyone who followed and asked things. Before we totally wrap up, though, there was a spicy take and an ice cold take, 2 channel point rewards. So I'll throw those to you. One thing that either in your academic expertise or in the game that you think is going to be controversial, in controversial opinion, and one that is extremely non-controversial.
Sorry, that was for me?
Yep,
yeah,
4.
Good question.
Either of us, but yes.
What was controversial, what was uncontroversial?
Right, I mean, I think I had one earlier, but I'll reiterate it for this spicy take. Right, I really don't care about what can be seen as architectural inaccuracies or, like, contradictions within the lore of the game, because it's all vibe, and this is a setting that lives and dies off of how well it does vibe.
That's a good one. I'd say that I might hold mine for to avoid spoilers.
Of course.
Some of the bigger reveals later in the game could be seen as controversial, but I'd actually argue later on that they're not. That in many ways they, again, like the architecture that we've been talking about in this instance, they get the balance of the representation right, and manage to tie that into the game mechanics. But yeah,
good.
I think I'll hold that thought.
Awesome. And then the extremely uncontroversial take is that pretty clearly this game does a phenomenal job on representing a, I mean, obviously fictional, but very richly immersive and well-researched world for you to exist in. And, right, I think it's huge credit to the developers of this game that they clearly put the time in and a lot of thought into how each element contributes